Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over another Neville Goddard lecture. This one's titled Walk on Water. It has a wonderful message and one I'd like to share with you guys. So I'll go through, I'll paraphrase the lecture, and we'll talk about it as we go. Now in this lecture, Neville states that the Bible is addressed to the man of imagination, he who is immortal and cannot die. He says the eternal body of man is the imagination. That is God himself, the divine body of Jesus, and we are his members. He goes on to quote George Bernard Shaw saying, quote, "Some men see things as they are and say, why? I dream of things that never were and say, why not?" Now Neville suggests that if one thinks of their birth as an act of God, then nothing can be impossible for God. By putting limits on the power that brought you here is to work against the living spiritual element that weaves all existence. He says there is only one true sin, and that is the belief that something is impossible for one's imagination. Neville then moves on to the symbolism of water and how it represents one's acceptance of life as psychological and the drama of life taking place in the imagination. When we stop excluding ourselves as the operant power of all that happens to us, and instead rearrange our mind to be the creative power that brings life into our ideal, when we do this, we are walking on water. He then mentions the concept of stone, water, and wind from Scripture, and how accepting the facts of life, accepting things as they are, is like stepping down onto a stone, but changing the facts in the imagination turns them into psychological truth and eventually a spiritual experience, which is walking on water. He encourages us to put no limit on God's creative power, to imagine that which is unimaginable, and to walk on water through faith. Neville then shares an experience of a friend who practices this art of walking on water, of walking upon his imaginations within his own mind. The friend wrote to Neville about a colleague who was complaining about the challenge of finding a decent man, but after revising her words in his imagination, she was quickly led through a bridge of incidents and quickly to her ideal partner. Now that same friend, who I must mention was a dedicated student of Neville's, also wrote about a work-related experience where he imagined completing a project successfully before a deadline. And then when that time came to pass, he physically carried out the task and everything flowed smoothly, just as he had imagined. Now we've all engaged some way with this form of mental rehearsal. However, when we change from just rehearsing the event in our mind, such as delivering a successful project, to complete faith in its reality, then we perform a miracle in which we can walk on the waters of our pictorial thoughts. Neville then says, when you truly believe that imagining creates reality, you will know there is no fiction. How can there be fiction when imagining is forever creating its reality? You may hear something you do not like, but because imagining creates reality, what you heard was first imagined, or it could not have happened. When you revise the hearing, by stopping the action and rewriting the script, you are walking on water, imagining the reality you desire to hear and appear in your world. He then shares another experience of a friend who had dreamt of planting flowers, and then later planted those flowers in reality with his family. But he could not understand the connection between the dream and the event that occurred. He says every event in life contains within itself something beyond its physical experience. Flowers symbolize growth of plantings. During winter, when nothing grows, he plants seeds which he will harvest not only in the world of Caesar, but also in the world of the Spirit, as well as we all do. He says, I urge you now to use your imagination and walk on the water. Plant the seeds of desire in the depth of your soul and allow them to flower on earth. If you do not see their harvest immediately, Believe what you did, for it will come whether you recognize it or not. And do not sin against the living, weaving Spirit by saying something is impossible, for God is your own wonderful human imagination, and nothing is impossible to imagine. He later says, don't think of reasons why you cannot have your desire. Simply think you already have it. If you tell yourself it is not possible, you are working against the creative force within you. Now he concludes the lecture by urging us to use our imaginations and walk on water. Plant the seeds of desire in our soul and allow them to grow on earth. If you do not see the harvest immediately, you must believe that it will come. You must continue to walk in faith, for nothing is impossible for the imagination. He says, prove your thoughts have creative power by consciously imagining constantly, and walk on the water. No matter what happens in the course of the day, revise it. Make the day conform to what you want it to be, and you are walking on the water. Do not let a day pass without practicing the art of walking on water. Every time you use your imagination lovingly on behalf of another, you are mediating God to the other person. So many people use their imagination unlovingly, yet they are still mediating God to those other people. He says, take me seriously. When you know what you want in life, construct a scene which would imply your desire is fulfilled. See it clearly as possible. Feel its naturalness. Experiment until you know the scene and all it implies is real. Now, to the degree that you believe in this reality, your experiment will become your experience. Do not stop there. Keep on imagining and share your results with others. Tell them how to free themselves from this bondage to the material world. When you know who you really are, you will not envy anyone. How could you, when you know that you are God and they are only yourself pushed out? If tomorrow something comes into your life that is not to your liking, do not accept it, for this fact blinds the eye of imagination. Remove the blindness by asking yourself what you would like, in place of what seems to be. Enter into that thought. Revel in it as though it were not fact. Persuade yourself that it is. Believe in its reality, and it will become your experience. So, my challenge to you today is to lean into faith in the unseen, to lean into faith in the spiritual and the creative transformative power within you. For through your faith, through your unwavering conviction, you wield a power to call forth anything you desire into the physical world. Through faith to your higher self and your own wonderful imagination, you can walk on water and grow deeper with understanding. Now, I hope you take some time today to reflect and to get clear on what you want. For only once you have identified your ideal can we begin to measure the degree of faith in which we walk towards it. I'm going to be putting out many more videos on spiritual development and transformation, and I hope you join me on those future videos. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.